Hello, my name is Monsignor John Kasza, pastor of St. James in Novi, Michigan. We're continuing our self-help series, and today's topic is that of discernment. And discernment is usually associated with the term vocation. In other words, a person discerns his or her vocation in the world. But I'd like to broaden the concept and ask you to think about the fact of discerning where God wants you to be in your life. For some of us that may mean a vocation. For others it may mean marriage. For others it may mean a job. For still others it may be a place to live, or perhaps a place where to send your kids for schooling. The idea of discernment is really an ancient one, and it means a lot more than just trying to figure out life's burdens or problems or issues. Discernment really means taking a problem or an issue or a concern and bringing it before the Lord and asking the Lord to help you to determine the best course of action. Now, because we have free will and intellect, God allows us to make choices. God says, I've given you a brain, I've given you talents and gifts, but I've also given you the ability to choose what you think will be the best course of action for you at this time. A lot of times people think that God is just going to magically send down a sign. They pray for a sign, much like Jesus' people in the New Testament. They wanted signs and wonders as a way of, testing the Lord's power. And God's not like that. He's not going to send some kind of message in skywriting. He's not going to send a bottle message to your house. He's not going to send a phone call. But God does do subtle things to help you to make decisions. Let me give you my vocation story as a way of kind of helping to flesh this idea of discernment out. I had a dream when I was a very little boy. And the only reason I remember it is because I must have told it to my mother, and she reminded me of it several times. Apparently, when I was very little, Jesus came to me in a dream and said, "Give me your heart." And I willingly gave my heart to the Lord. But that was when I was very little, and I didn't know about the ways of the world. As I got older, I got more involved in the church and began to do a lot of work around the church as an altar server, a lector, a Eucharistic minister, a parish council representative, and so forth. And people began to tell me, "John, I think you make a good priest." And of course I resisted. My pastor said, "I think you make a good priest," and I pushed him away. I said, "What is this, some kind of a hard sell?" And time again, people began to say, "We think you have the qualities that we like in a priest." And I thought about it, but I also thought about marriage. I thought about having children. I thought about having a career as a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher. And I resisted. But then the desire still was within me. And so I made some positive steps to try to figure out whether I'm being called to the priesthood or not. And it took a long time. I mean, I finally made a formal inquiry when I was in my first year of college, and they wanted me to come right in the seminary at that time. And I said, no, I'm still going to attend Wayne State, and I'm going to finish up my 4 years at Wayne State, and then if I still feel the call, then I'll come in. So about 1 year after graduation from Wayne, I entered the seminary. And my father asked me the question, "Will you be happy?" I don't know. If I'm not happy, I'll leave. If I don't like it, I'll leave. Well, every year I recommitted myself to the vocation, recommitted myself to discerning what God is calling me to do. And after 6 years in seminary, I found myself saying yes to the Archbishop and being ordained a priest. Now that kind of story happens time and time again around the world in many different ways. But let's take a discernment for marriage or a job. It kind of follows the same procedures. You look at it and say, when you're dating someone, you say, is this person the one for me? Does he or she set my heart aflutter? Does he or she make me feel complete? Does he or she really help me to be the best person I can be? Is this person the right one for me? And you learn about them through dating, through spending time with them, through experiencing different things, perhaps loss, perhaps a very joyful experience. And then gradually you begin to say, yeah, this person is my alter ego. This person is my better half. This person helps me to be a better person. And eventually you choose to get married. And it's a mutual decision. Looking for a job. You say, well, is this job going to help me to use my gifts and talents in the best way possible? Is this job going to make me a better person? Will I make a difference in the world? Will I be able to really live the lifestyle that I would like to live by having this job? And so you basically, through discernment, is this idea of really asking yourself tough questions and not being afraid to hear a negative answer. Now, in my case of vocation for the priesthood, I sometimes heard negative answers. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to be a priest? It's a waste of time. What are you going to do? It's not a lot of money. But in my heart of hearts, I began to say, this is what really fulfills me as a human being. And so too with other aspects in the world. Marriage, relationship, job, where to live. When you're choosing a place to live, does this community help me to be a good person? Do I feel that this is the right fit? Is this community the kind of people with whom I wish to associate? Do these people help me to be a better person? When you're choosing a school, is this school going to help my son or daughter to achieve his or her potential? Is this school going to give my son or daughter a better experience of life? And so don't be afraid in discerning whatever God has in store for you to ask yourself these questions. And allow others to speak to you. Allow others to say, you'd make a good X, Y, or Z. Have you considered something? Have you talked to this person? I think you and that person might make a nice couple. Have you really considered living in this place? Listen to the voices of people around you, because it may be God speaking to you through them. Listen to your gut. That's what I tell people all the time. Your head may say one thing, and you may be looking at it through rose-colored glasses, but what does your gut say? Is this the right thing? Is this the right thing to do at this time? And then ask God in prayer. God, is this what's going to be best for me? Perhaps God will say yes, perhaps God will say no, perhaps God will say nothing. Because God is letting you make the choice. But ultimately, when you make the choice, know that God is with you whatever you decide. Even if you do something that God thinks you shouldn't do, God's still there with you because of our free will and intellect, and above all because He loves us. So whenever you're faced with a difficult decision or a monumental decision, take time to ask yourself the difficult questions. Listen to what God is saying to you through others, and then trust your gut. That whatever is happening, whatever you feel, whatever you think, hopefully it'll draw you ever closer to what God's plan is for you. And whatever you decide, know that God is walking that journey with you, helping you to be the best person He's called you to be.